Blog Talk Radio. Hi, welcome to today's episode of 219 Green Connect, where we explore topics about the environment and green living in Northwest Indiana. For past show archives, news, and upcoming events, you can check out our website at 219greenconnect.com or connect with us on Facebook or Twitter. Our ID on both Facebook and Twitter is 219 Green Connect. You can also subscribe to our podcast via iTunes. For those listeners joining us live today, you can also phone in at 805-243-1323 to post questions or to join us on the call. I'm Kathy Sipple, and with us today we have Valerie Steil. She is American Society of Interior Designers accredited and is president at Marc T. Nielsen Interiors in Valparaiso. We're going to be speaking about making environmentally friendly choices at home. Valerie, thanks for joining us. Valerie, can you hear me?
Hear me?
Great. Yes, I think we've got you on now.
Okay.
Thanks so
Hi,
much
Kathy.
for joining us. A little last-minute rushing around, but very glad you could make it.
I am too. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, you have been a long time, well, at least several years, influencer on me for, kind of getting me into better green habits.
Good.
You hosted an event several years ago about green cleaning at Marc T. Nielsen Interiors, and I think that might have been the first time I met you. But I thought that was very interesting, and you've also done a lot with before and after, room staging, and you're a big proponent of using items on hand. So tell us a little bit about how we can make better, environmentally conscious decisions when we're thinking about home decor and just ways that we look at our home.
Okay. It actually should start right in the very beginning when you're anticipating a project or thinking about a project. And I think the one that's probably overlooked the most is to, first of all, make the best use of what you already have.
Mm-hmm.
And you often do need an outside eye for that because we become so accustomed to the things sitting on the mantle that we hate that we don't realize that it would look fabulous in the guest room.
You have some great before and after images, and it was a lot of times simply a matter of just rearranging things, but it was done so artfully and intentionally that you're right. It's just not a gift all of us have.
And sometimes how you hang or display your artwork makes a huge, huge difference in your appreciation of it.
So that's where
we like to start.
Yeah, that probably saves people a lot of green too. If you're using what you already have, that's the ultimate in repurposing and living lighter on the land.
It's good on so many levels.
Yeah. So how did you?
And it also helps continue that sense of history that I think is very important in homes.
Right.
As you host more and more Christmases and time goes by, some of those things in your home become part of those memories.
Mm-hmm. Who is your typical client that you would help? Is it somebody who, would have a very fancy home, or do you help, regular people?
We even help regular folks.
Regular people like me?
That's part of what keeps our job interesting, I think, is there is no real typical client. We work with people who really all they want is help with paint colors. We even have worked with people that all they wanted was hanging their artwork or displaying their artwork, all the way up to people who are building a wonderful new home from the get-go, and we get to be involved in the blueprint phases, which is extremely helpful and can also save green and start with your environmental decisions right off the bat then too.
Great, and I understand, obviously this is a little easier when we've got the before and after slides, so we'll have to talk our way through this, but can you tell us about some recent success stories, people that you've worked with that you were able to repurpose items or rearrange?
Well, I don't like to drop names without permission.
No, you don't have to drop names, but just maybe some examples.
Oh, yeah, there's actually been some kind of fun ones. Dot Kessling, our stylist, did some styling for some people. A couple of them were new to the area. They relocated, and one of them was still living in the other home far away.
Okay.
And so in this one couple's case, she was still living out in Utah, and he was living here. And he was pretty content just to be camping out with all the boxes and the, as long as the TV was plugged in the fridge and he had a chair, he was content. So every time she would come on the weekends, not much more had been accomplished in the home. And so she would spend her entire weekend trying to get organized and unpack some things and hang some things on the wall. And it was just very stressful for her because it was so out of order.
Mm-hmm.
So Dot went and kind of put things in order and really transformed the space. And so when she did come to visit the next time, it was like, oh, thank you.
Great.
And really made wonderful use of the things they already had, and then gave her a shopping list so she had a task, a mission, and she knew what she needed to accomplish instead of just coming and feeling like she didn't even know where to start.
Good. You mentioned painting before, too. I know that there have been a lot of developments in paint, such as low VOC paints.
Yes, and they're actually really good paint.
And I don't want to drop acronyms without explaining what that is, but it's volatile organic compounds. And I can't explain too much more about what that is, except they're usually very bad for you.
Yeah, you don't want to be breathing them if you don't have.
Yeah. So is that something
and
that
the low VOC paints have improved greatly in quality, and I think they've even come down just a bit in price. So there's really almost no reason to not use them. Good.
And I know a couple other things that I learned at your workshop back at Marc T. Nielsen some years ago was about choices in countertops. I don't know if you get into that, but, granite actually off-gases, radon, I believe? Which I did not know. Yeah,
but it has to be sealed, and it's a water-based sealer.
There was a gal, though, who was at your place from Green Home Experts in Oak Park, Illinois, and she was talking about some alternatives, like I think it was called papercrete, and it was a almost concrete-looking board that was made out of paper, and you just wouldn't think you could cut on that, but it really looked beautiful, looked interesting, and there were some other alternatives, too, that I've not quite remembered.
There's recycled glass. There's several other recycled things, and even some of the quartzite stuff, I think, might use some recycled content.
And I know you make frequent trips to the Merchandise Mart. I've never been able to join you on one, but do you see a lot of green trends in home design when you go to the
at
Merchandise
the Mart itself, it's not as in your face as you might think, but it's there.
Okay.
You just need to be aware of it on your own, and ask, where is this? And sometimes, there will be marketing materials that will help you just go right to it, but otherwise you need to inquire. Now, if there's an event like NeoCon, which just occurred last month, which is more geared toward contract interiors, but they overlap so much now.
And tell me, what is contract interiors? I'm not sure.
Commercial.
Commercial, gotcha. Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
As opposed to residential. But they overlap a lot, so most residential designers go to NeoCon as well. And there they do make a big deal about what's green and what isn't, because many commercial projects are going for LEED certification or other environmentally conscious certifications, and so they need to know the specifics on the furnishings and stuff that they will.
But any interesting new products that you saw at NeoCon?
Oh my God! It's just such an overwhelming saturation of new things, from wacky stuff to just gorgeous stuff to really innovative things. It's a real showplace for the latest stuff on the market. Theater seating, just really ingenious things. It's just amazing what people keep coming up with.
Seems like I keep seeing bamboo coming up a lot, and I know that that's a more or less sustainably raised crop, or at least one that can be, grown again.
Grows quickly.
Grows quickly, yeah. I think there's a fancier word for that. But are you seeing any, bamboo fabrics or any kinds of things? What were some trends that you've seen?
It's really interesting watching the progression of bamboo. It started out just as floors, and then you started seeing it as kitchen accessories. I would never use the cutting board because it's so hard. But and then you started seeing it in towels and fabrics, and it's amazing it's amazingly soft in things like towels. So they've really, really taken advantage of the quick-growing fiber and developed it into all kinds of things. The only downside of it is it grows in China.
Yeah, and sometimes I think they're clearing the land to grow bamboo and perhaps getting rid of trees that would otherwise help the environment. So,
that's the unforeseen downside when a good thing becomes almost too good.
Yeah, it's not always easy to find out what is the green solution and what is truly green, tracing it back all the way to its roots.
That's
no pun intended. But where do you go, or what are your resources to kind of evaluate whether or not a product is truly green or green enough for your satisfaction?
Well, we get a lot of information from our sales rep, and there are several trade publications geared toward environmental design and construction. I can't think of it. That's the main one, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So there's a lot of information there, and for organizations such as yours online, where there's a lot of exchange of information, and just I think once you have an awareness, you start just tuning into it when you see it various places.
Right.
So all you can do is get as much information as you can and weigh it all, and hope to God everybody's telling you the truth.
Well, and I'll put in a little plug for events like Green Drinks. You're a very frequent Green Drinks attendee, and we always appreciate having you there. But that's a once-a-month get-together that we have generally the third Monday of each month. I think that'll be moving to the second Monday of each month after this July.
Yeah, I know it's coming next Monday.
Yeah. So we do have one coming next Monday. If anybody would like to join us, the focus will be on local food. But at any particular meeting, we typically have people across all industries represented, and it's a great place to get your questions answered. I remember we had the gentleman that was a solar installer there, and you had all kinds of questions for him.
I did, because I'm very interested in that.
That's
I just
great.
need to win the lottery so I can do all this stuff.
That's a wonderful place to talk, live, face-to-face with people who know the answers and, will really steer you in the right direction, or if they don't know.
And they're local.
And they're local. And collectively, there's a great body of knowledge. If somebody is not represented right there in the room, they can generally, hook you up and tell you who to talk to.
Exactly.
So, very cool.
And they know what works in this area and what doesn't work in this area.
Right.
As opposed to just general information out there in the world. So.
Yeah. So have you found more homeowners, asking about green options, or is that something that you typically introduce into the conversation?
We ask them if it's a criteria for them, and when we ask them, they'll usually say things like, "Well, yes, that's appealing to them, but not if it costs a lot more."
Okay.
So, the other thing that I mentioned to you earlier is that another process or way of approaching this that's often overlooked as a green thing is that if you buy good quality and you design things well up front, you're not redoing every 7 or 8 years like so many people seem to do.
Right.
We honestly have people that call after 17 years and wonder if the same fabric is still available for their sofa because they still so much, but it's just worn out. And I think if we use things until they are truly worn out, that's also green. And the sofa is still perfectly fine. It can be reupholstered, probably built better than many contemporaries. So
now, is that a service that you offer at Marc T. Nielsen, or do you contract out for that? Okay. We
do a lot of refurbishing, reupholstering, repairing, and we're very happy to do that. We love. Sometimes that just takes a little something to make something work, and we can restyle things. So if you have this fabulous old sofa, but you just hate the arm style, we can change that.
Interesting. I did not know you could do that.
Yeah, we could even raise the height of the back of it if it just feels too low to you, So there's a lot of things you can do. Very
cool. Yeah, it's kind of sad sometimes when you're driving around at trash day and you see, pieces of furniture out at the curb that, I have nowhere to go with it. I'm not that big of a garbage picker, but sometimes you just think, oh, I wish I could rescue this. And if somebody just knew, if they just knew they had that option. I'll just throw out another idea, too. If you find that you're just sick of it and you want to get rid of something, there's a great site called freecycle.org. And I will often put things on there that are either difficult to move or I'm just not sure anybody would want it. But there always seems to be a response. People pick things up, they've got craft ideas in mind or they've got some alternative use idea in mind. But often the things I've put on there, they get picked up right away, or I've even asked for things. It makes you feel good and keeps things out of the waste stream. So if you just decide you hate your sofa, try freecycle.org, then call Valerie. But
and there's always the quintessential recycling method, which is the rummage sale.
Mm-hmm.
So
sure, yeah. If you want to, try to organize something and get some money out of it, that's great. Craigslist, you can definitely do eBay. There are just so many ways nowadays that you can do this fairly easily online with minimal effort, and it just keeps it out of the landfill. So can you describe to me your process? If I'm a homeowner and I want to redo my living room, I call you, and what happens typically?
Well, there's usually just a little brief interview with them, and we've determined that we're a good match, and we'll often meet at the home. Sometimes people want to meet here first and just have a look at us, particularly if they've had a bad experience with somebody else. They come here and see our offices and our studio, and it's pretty clear we're not a fly-by-night operation.
I would say so. It's a beautiful facility. If you've ever had, if anybody's got the opportunity, it's just a really neat place.
Yeah, it's nice to have a beautiful place to work.
Do you want to share your contact info and your website?
Oh, of course. We are Marc T. Nielsen Interiors, and our phone number is 219-462-9812. And our website, I'm sorry, this is so long, it's the whole thing. And Marc T. Nielsen Interiors is spelled MarcTNIELSEN, interiors.com.
Great. And I did put a link on the show too, so if anybody's listening to the show, they'll be able to click there. Okay, but it's a really neat place. You're on Old Suman?
Yes, on the north end of Valpo, just a mile south of US 6. So we're kind of between Valpo and Chesterton.
It's just a beautiful residential area out in the country. You're on several acres, right?
We actually only have 4. It just feels like more because there's so much open space around us.
Well, even 4. That's a pretty good size.
Yeah.
For most interior design places, they don't typically
have
that much elbow room. But it's a neat space and neat history of the place too.
Yeah. Yeah, we were founded in 1924 by Mr. Nielsen on the south side of Chicago.
Great. So tell us a little bit about how you got interested in, the environment and just making some of the decisions that you've made about trying to live greener.
I think I always have been, and it probably originates from my love of nature. And, there's nothing better than going for a hike in places where the, plants are proliferating and there's no litter and the air is clean and the water's clean. And so I just want to make sure that will remain for generations to come. And as the population keeps increasing, it's going to be harder and harder, so we have to take as many steps as possible.
Sure. How do you bring that into your design? Do you feel that you've got, strong tie toward natural patterns?
Well, that all depends on the client, too.
On the client. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because everybody is different. Everybody responds to a different color palette, to a different feeling, different flavor. Some people love a lot of visual stimulation. Some people really need a very quiet environment visually. So I've
called you and I've made my appointment. You either come to my home or I come to your beautiful studio. And then during that initial meeting, you have a process of discovery where you dig into the client's preferences and tastes.
Yeah, we just kind of discuss what it is they want to accomplish, what their goal is. Hopefully they have some idea of budget. And these days, most people work at things in phases, but it's still nice to have a master plan.
Mm-hmm.
So you know where you're trying to get to. And then once you create that master plan, it's much easier for people to prioritize and just kind of chip away at it and check things off the list.
Yeah, when you spoke before at an event that I had attended, it seemed to me very much a process of co-creation and really a practical approach that would be accessible to a lot of people that don't have huge budgets.
Oh,
So
I
I like
so.
that. Yeah. So is there a minimum?
So.
I'm sorry, I keep over talking you, but is there a minimum job or minimum budget for your services? Okay.
Now, we have some people that all we ever do for them is a couple-hour consultation because in order to save their marriage, they needed to hire an outside person
wow.
to come and settle a dispute. So, I mean, we've even done just that. So,
well, that's great. So any other tips or trends you'd like to share?
No, I would just say just keep aware because there's so much out there. And just how you use things in your own home, and we even do it in our office. We use every piece of paper. Nothing gets recycled until both sides have been used for our inner office stuff. We're very conscious about keeping lights off when we're not using them. The AC is off when we're not here, and actually, we don't use it unless it's absolutely necessary, and we keep the thermostat set in such a way that it's still comfortable, but it's not excessive. We're not using things unnecessarily. Drop the blinds at night so when the morning sun starts coming in, it doesn't come in and warm up the office in the summer.
That does bring up a point about blinds. I know there are blinds that have insulation or an R value. Is that anything that comes into design? Are there blinds that look attractive and that are also practical for
almost everything helps. So even if it doesn't have an R value of 40 or something, even just blocking the sun during the summer helps a great deal. And there's beautiful things out there that are available for that. And even in the winter, just drawing your draperies just keeps the draft off the windows that can sometimes occur when it's so cold, even with really good windows. So it all helps.
So what would be kind of a minimal job that you would come in and do? I know you said to settle a marital dispute, but what did that involve? And then what would be kind of the biggest job that somebody would approach you for?
Sometimes it might just be to help them with their paint colors.
Okay.
And then they want to go from there on their own, or we'll help them with their paint colors, and then sometimes that'll grow into a little bit more if they're comfortable having more help. So, or like I said, sometimes for one client, all we ever did for them was hang artwork and display artwork. Sometimes when two households are merged, like when two people get married, and it's doing a furniture layout using all of their furniture to try to make it work, because that can be very difficult to combine two households. And then they go from there on their own. So
understandable.
A lot of times it's just to help people get over a hump.
And I'm thinking, too, with the real estate market, it seems like it might be a little bit on the rebound, but it's still a little tough to sell your house. If you need to sell it in a hurry, and more people, if they don't need to move, are staying put. So this nesting instinct, I would think people who feel that they would like to move but can't, this would be a good solution for them, a good sustainable solution. If you have to work with the house that you have, not just the furniture and the paintings that you have, but the house that you have, your services could make a really big impact.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and actually we've done a little of that where someone thought they wanted to move because their house wasn't big enough anymore, and they just decided, okay, we're not going to give our house away, so we're just going to stay. And then they try to make some adjustments and changes, and it sometimes works out for the best in so many ways.
Good. Well, it sounds like a lot of different approaches to green.
Yeah, they don't have to go through the hassle of the move, which can be a big hassle. So any other things that you've seen from Neocon, or any other things that you'd like to share? I was very excited to get the email from you that said you would like to do a show, and I admit I don't know an awful lot about your industry. So anything else you'd like to share, the floor is yours. Well, some things are kind of goofy. They'll make desks and consoles out of cardboard, and it seems to me that must be intended to be only temporary. But on the other hand, then they'll also take cardboard and make some really cool shades for light fixtures. Mm-hmm. And so it's just, if you put the challenge out there to these all these creative people, it's just amazing what they come up with. They also multi-purpose furniture. Mm-hmm. That's pretty amazing. And that comes, some of those pieces that were so almost mind-boggling are created for the healthcare industry or for hospice, things like that, when people are coming to visit and then they end up needing a place to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they'll have a piece of furniture that converts from 2 chairs and a table to a sofa to a bed.
Wow, I've never seen such a thing. Yeah,
I didn't either, and strong enough to function as all of the above.
It sounds like not your mother's pull-out sofa.
No, definitely not, and without taking up such a huge footprint, you know, so you can have different functions in the same space.
Very cool. And I'm thinking before the pull-out sofa, there was the Murphy bed, but this sounds a whole lot more flexible.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I like that idea a lot. So just to recap, and we've talked about making smart decisions from the beginning, maybe not being quite as trendy, being more intentional about the style that you're going with, something you won't be sick of.
What you really love instead of what you think is really cool at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And buying good quality, not cardboard desks, unless that's unless it's a stage prop or something. I don't know. And
don't be seduced by a low price tag.
Mm-hmm.
I would say save your money and wait a little to buy something better.
And, you know, I guess I might sound like a cheapskate or something, but buying used, I mean, being the buyer at a thrift store or something, I mean, a lot of times people are just moving and getting rid of stuff, and, you know, I mean, I've moved before and not had time for a rummage sale, and we were practically giving things away. Mm-hmm. You know, if you've got the time to shop it, and with your help putting things together, you never know what might come out.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can find.
Yeah, so whether you're the buyer or the seller, and somebody could call you for a consultation just to look at how to pull things together that you've already got, you know, not necessarily buying more stuff, just moving around what you have.
Yep.
And being conscious about the labels on the paint and the other materials that go into your furnishings and your fixtures.
Yeah. Another thing I'd like to say about the VOC paints is we had a client who used it in her lower level, and she said you couldn't even tell that anybody was painting. There's no paint odor.
Wow, that's hard to believe.
Yeah, so she was just tickled just for that alone, you know.
Yeah, and a lot of people are developing allergies, you know, more and more, or, you know, just breathing issues, and it seems like it's becoming more and more important to keep that indoor air quality. A lot of environmentalists are very focused on, you know, the trees and outdoor air quality, but with your home so sealed up, you know, and often very high R value homes are very sealed, your indoor air quality becomes, you know, very important for your family's health. So, good tips.
Houses to be too tight.
Yeah, well, let's give your contact info one more time, just in case somebody's joining us midway. We're talking to Valerie Steil from Marc T. Nielsen Interiors in Valparaiso, Indiana, and you can look at the show archives to get the website, but go ahead and give your phone number, and you have a Facebook page as well.
Yes. Our phone is 219-462-9812. And on Facebook, I think if you just search for Marc T. Nielsen Interiors, we should come up.
Great. Well, Valerie, I want to thank you.
Like us on Facebook. Thank you, Kathy.
Find them on Facebook for good tips, and she does have some cool before and after photos on the website, so you can get a sense of, you know, what types of projects we're talking about and get a visual behind it. It's very innovative, and, you know, a little bit of moving around can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you so much again, Valerie, for joining us, and we hope you'll come back. If you see new trends or tips that you pick up at Neocon or anywhere else, we'd like to have you back and report in on it. Thanks so much.
Be a little more conscious and keep a list.
Sounds good. Well, you've been listening
Kathy.
Thank you. You've been listening to another episode of 219 Green Connect. This is Kathy Sipple, and please join us back next time at 219greenconnect.com. You can look at all of our archived issues or episodes online, or you can go to iTunes and download the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.